Welcome to episode 6 of the Mudroom Renovation series. In this episode, we made the sink splashback and create Chai's little dog bowl area, which is the cutest custom space we've built to date. Welcome back to the Mudroom.
Welcome back.
We're back. We've been outside.
We've been all over the place. We've been all over the place.
We've been all over. We've been outside.
We've been everywhere. I've been everywhere. I don't know about you. I've been out the back, I've been out the front, I've been everywhere.
We've actually noticed that because we don't really go into the back at all. And I have never been to the back of our property, like I've never been to the backyard. And we were there this morning and I said to Brad, I don't think I've ever been here. I thought that was quite funny.
I'm well accustomed with all corners of this property where Samantha has not ventured into the depths of our backyard as of yet.
Why would I want to go? It's just like overgrown mosquito land.
Yeah, this is pretty
It's
terrible.
not what I'm looking for. Anyway.
We digress.
We're back in the mudroom. It's a new year and we are very excited because there is going to be a lot happening this year.
So there is a lot happening in the back half of this house this year. We've got a little bit to finish off in this room, some plastering work. Obviously this video, which is going to be splashback and dog bowls, as well as an enormous amount of joinery that's going to go into the back half of the house. Really fun things coming up.
Today we're going to be working on the splashback and dog bowls, as Brad said. So realistically, I position the camera so you can see. So it's this one and this one today. We want the dog bowls to match the sink vibe. So it's literally like Chai gets his own little space that matches the human sink. They're going to be inset into the bench top. We'll do it the same stain. It's just like a special moment for Chai.
Yes, it'll make it look really cohesive too, and it's and he's got his bougie brass bowls.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So what will make it look really, really special is like we've got these beautiful beaten. Let's see if I can get this in focus. These beautiful beaten gold bowls for him, and we've made sure we tested it to make sure he can get his head in there, and he can.
Yeah, we used certified test kibble
Yeah.
in the bowls, and success.
Success. Because we were very worried because we, if you've seen the other episodes, we shifted the design because we realised he would not have been able to get his head in over here. So we tested it and it's a go. We're good to go.
It works.
Before, Brad had dried fit the whole thing in, which is why we took it back down again. Yeah. So now we're fixing it off.
Yeah, because all these boards in the middle here are very specific, so it's easy, and especially because we've got very minimal wastage. I only bought just as much as we needed, so it was nice just to sort of cut it all out first, dry fit it, see how I wanted to play it around, then you can take your time, and then once it's all done, you've got all your pieces pre-cut, and now it's just glue away.
It just looks so bloody good. It's almost fully done. Just have this bit here to go. Can't wait to paint it up. It's going to look gorgeous, especially when we have the tap and our golden bar that'll go across. And it just looks so finished. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it.
This part's going to be a little bit tricky because this piece I have here is just not big enough. It's probably way too deep, but it's definitely not the width. And the problem with pre-laminated boards is there's not really much you can do with it. So unfortunately, I'm actually just going to rip strips out of this. So I reckon I'll probably do every 2 bits, cut some strips, and then basically dock them into the lengths and then join all back together again, I guess, like you would with a large panel or when you're making your own bench top. Gonna get some big sash clamps and basically just glue the absolute heckin' crap out of it and squish it all back together. And because it's such a low little bench as well, you're not really gonna see too much detail. So long as it's nice and reasonably flat and reasonably neat once we stain it up, it's gonna look pretty good. So here we go. So here we've got these strips cut out, and all I've done is just docked a couple of edges off some of the longer pieces and basically just paste it together. It's pretty, like, it's very symmetrical in terms of how it's been joined together, but because it's such a small little detail, quite low, I'm going to be cutting out these big circles in the middle anyway for those bowls, so you're not really going to pick up on the detail of that. So time to get this glued together, and then tomorrow we can sand it back down and stain it.
You look like you're doing some sort of medieval blacksmithing.
This is like the torture devices.
Yeah. 100%. This has become a shit show, Brad. Whoa, could you put any more on?
Yeah, you need to go ham. There's no light on way to do this gluing. You've got to just absolutely lather it. Otherwise, it's basically pointless.
Lucky you've done that then.
Lucky.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm sick. I kind of sound like I sound like what's her face off Bob's Burgers. What's her name?
What is her name?
Margaret.
It's definitely not Margaret.
What's her name?
Doesn't need to perform two.
Like it's not holding anything structurally up.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Two very lightweight bowls.
Two very lightweight.
It's not even suspended. It's sitting flush.
If Chi gets some special treats, he might absolutely go ham on it. And then we'll be wondering where all the structure is.
No, it's not even structurally like needing to structure.
It's not even structurally needing to structure. I love that. That's great.
Okay.
Alright, I'll hold that there like that. Yeah. And now we play the gluey game.
Oh, that squish was very satisfying, wasn't it?
Okay. That was a complete mess, but we have it all glued. Sitting there, pretty comfortable. It's probably going to be a little bit bumpy because of those small little pieces sliding around a bit there, but nothing that a belt sander won't get out of, and potentially the thickness so depending on how bad it is. But we'll leave that overnight here to dry and try and peel off all the extra gluey bits and the substrate underneath there, and then get it all treated and finished up.
Well done.
Oh yeah, damage isn't too bad.
Not too bad, that'll come off.
Alright, so we've sanded this back, it's looking nice and flat. It's pretty good, a couple of little joints to fill with some putty, but for all intents and purposes, it's come out pretty well, which we're very happy with. Now we've got our dog bowls, so just to make sure that we get the right cut, and obviously don't want to go under or too large, and they have got a bit of a tapered edge on them, so I'm literally just measuring the overall of the bowl, and then there's about a 10mm lip on both sides, so I'm just going to minus 10mm overall, which should mean that the cutout sits 5mm smaller than the outside rim, which will give a little bit of play room, but also will make sure that it doesn't get anywhere around the outside there, and it's not going to fall through. So I'm going to cut that out of this, probably use a jigsaw. The last time I tried to do this with the bench top, it was a bit of a hard job just because this is such thick hardwood and the jigsaw really burnt its way through it. So I'm going to give it a go to start off with, but might have to change tact, potentially with a router or something like that to try and get through this amount of material, but I'm going to trace it out and see how we go. Alright, so we left this overnight to dry. It's looking pretty good. The colours come up really nicely. I'm quite happy with the first coat. We definitely realised after doing the bench top the first time with a bit of a, I guess, a woolen cloth or a bit of cotton cloth on a t-shirt, it soaked up the stain really nicely. It spread it out really nicely, but it didn't apply it in a really thick sense. So using a brush, I would highly recommend for a stain and varnish. We're just using a Cabot's from Bunnings. It's a pretty standard product, pretty good product to be perfectly honest with you. Lots of range, but brushing it on's given us a much thicker colour and it's definitely come up a lot better. So gonna give it just a nice light sand to get rid of those lumps and bumps and a bit of the dust that settles when it dries. Give it another coat and hopefully it'll get nice and dark to match them with the others.
Good morning, afternoon, evening. What time is it? 11:50. Good morning. Today, we are going to finish off staining the dog bowls, which is very exciting. They're starting to look really, really good. So we're doing the flannel coats on this before it can get installed. And I'm also going to get started on painting and prepping the splashback. Then we'll be doing the false wall for the dog bowls, just so you can access, sorry, you might be able to hear Brad's dad, Russ. Hi Russ! Is helping us out today. You can hear him on the chainsaw. So that you can access the pipes. So Brad will be putting in a false wall behind the dog bowls, so it hides it and makes it look really neat, but we can access the water pipes if we ever need to very easily. Excitingly, we are ready for the first coat of paint on the splashback. So I ended up going over it with the orbital sander just to make sure that these big joins were really smooth, and while I was at it I just kind of did a once over to make sure it was all perfectly smooth and ready to go. Now I'm just going to get painting. The strategy that we use when it comes to a lining board is to paint on in the grooves and then back roll with the roller to get that really smooth finish. I'm very excited to see this come to life. Let's get to it. This colour is the same colour that we used in the front of the house, one of the main two neutrals that we use. So this is called Baked Brie. It's by the paint company called Taubmans, and it's a really beautiful creamy neutral that has that touch of beige to it, so it's not a stark white, it's a warm beige colour. Stunning, love it, put it everywhere.
Now for the last little bit that we have to do in this laundry is to make Chai's little miniature splashback, which is going to mirror the one above the bench top, which is really, really cute. The idea that we did have was to use the offcuts of the lining board here from the top and use it underneath, but unfortunately I just don't have enough, which is really painful because I'm only like one of these lengths short. But instead, we're going to make our own. So fortunately, I have a little bit of a router piece here. It's like in a V-shaped router bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a panel of MDF, and I'm actually going to route out my own lines that mirror the ones on the top. So just going to set the depth nicely so it gets a nice little V-groove here, make it out of a single panel, and you won't even know the difference after it's painted. So let's chop this one up. All right, so that actually worked out really well. The V-groove lines here look almost, actually, you know what, they look better than V-groove boards. I'm actually going to try and do this. I recommend doing this for some other different types of panels rather than gluing lots of different strips together. I mean, obviously you can buy this panel just as itself. They do make similar profiles of this. You can buy them in full panels, but when you just need a little piece like this, highly recommend using a router. That worked out really well. So we do have to install it in here now, because, so we mentioned it in some other videos, we do want access in behind here because obviously we've got all of our waste for our sink, and we've got the water point. So if there's any water issue, you've got leaks and things like that, you still need to access those valves and the stop valves. So we're going to make this removable. Now I've set it up at the back here with some magnets. Now it's literally just a little nice little thin bit of MDF, but I've got, if you can see here, just a nice little magnet, and underneath I've got a couple of catches here, so it literally will just slide in and click shut and it'll be all done.
Here we are, things are starting to really come together. Like, this is starting to feel like a mudroom.
It's hard when you've got so many pieces just absolutely everywhere. Things have got different coats of paint, things have got stuff done and not others somewhere else. It's just a bit of a mess, but when you start to piece it back all together again, actually clean the room out, it really comes together. It's actually starting to look really awesome.
So the splashback is painted. It actually looks, what the heck is that? Oh, you've scratched it, you numbnut.
No, it's fine.
This is
numbnut.
We have to go back and do the defects. We're certainly not finished, but we've done sort of the basic parts, and we will go back and defect it and fix it up. So the splashback is painted, it's got its 3 coats, and it's looking really nice. I think the contrast between the blue and the baked brie was a good choice in the end. And of course the dog bowl area, oh my gosh.
It's fucking cute.
It's so cute. It's so cute. It's such a sweet little detail.
Yeah, it's nice. We really like how it's turned out. And Chai's also given it a test run a few times with some kibble, so
the kibble
we know
test.
if you pass the kibble test, we know it works. So he fits perfectly underneath there. It's a good use of space. Otherwise, with these big farmhouse sinks, they do take up quite a lot of room. We do have to still do all of our plumbing fit off. So at the moment, sinks literally just sitting there. Obviously, we haven't got a tap. It's not a waste yet, so we've still got to get the plumber in to hook everything up, including the waste in the water for the washing machine. But everything's sitting here ready to go, so this space has made use of the area down there really well.
But it is a great use of space, as Brad said, and I think that it's really nice to have that balance between the woods matching up here and down there, and we have that splashback detail that Brad made. Having the removable splashback is just such an amazing way to put in detail but make it really functional, so we need to access the plumbing we can. So 10 out of 10, Brad.
Yeah, it's really important to make sure that no matter where you're putting your water points, that they're always accessible. Just in case of a leaking tap, a leaking faucet, anything like that, from the wall point, plumbing, any of your equipment and fixtures, you just need to be able to turn the water off rather than having to run out the front yard trying to turn the mains off.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to get that access, so always keep that in mind when you're building a wet area.
100%. And we're pretty much done. So what's left for us to do is to obviously do all the defects. We just need to tile the floor, paint the ceiling and walls, and we're kind of done.
We're so close.
We're so close, and then of course the finishes, adding in our finishes and details and curtains, etc. But we're actually so close to being in this room.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
The last 5% to go, which is, as we all know, takes the longest. It's where the detail is, but the grunt work's finished, which is a big portion of it.
So thank you for joining us for this episode of The Mudroom. This part we've been just so looking forward to doing. We've been talking about these dog bowls for so long, and this to us is like exactly the reason that you can build custom, is that you get to put these elements in, because you know these are the parts of your house that are unique to you and the way that you live in your home. And for us, Chai having his own space and own details is really important. It's part of us and our family life. So if you're ever wondering whether you should build things custom, this is just such a perfect example of why it can make such a big difference in having these custom details in your home.
Yeah, big time.
It's like personality.
Yeah, and it's without mentioning that these sort of details should be done in existing homes as well. Obviously, you don't need to build out entire cabinets. You can rearrange your existing cabinets and add in this sort of design to make an existing space look good for a fraction of the costs.
Absolutely. Exactly. Alright, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
See you soon.
Bye.